Welcome back to the Mike and Andrew Show. I'm Andrew Surik here again with Mike Meredith. Mike, last Friday we had the NHL trade deadline. We're going to get into that. Obviously, free agency started yesterday. I guess, well, technically the legal tampering period started yesterday. True free agency doesn't really start until tomorrow, but moves have already been made in the NFL, of course, and we'll get into that as well in this episode. But Mike, how you doing, man? How's the weekend? And you ready to get this thing on the road?
Yeah, pretty good, man. It goes by too fast as always, but um, lots to discuss here. Lots of moves going on in uh, NFL, NHL. It's a good time right now. Lots of stuff going on.
Yes, sir. And in baseball, we're just a couple weeks out from that. We're a couple weeks out from March Madness starting up. So definitely exciting time of the year for sure. But let's get into it, man. Thursday's episode, we talked about the trades that happened before the deadline. Obviously, the deadline was on Friday last weekend, and I didn't cover all the trades that happened before that we even recorded that episode, mostly because I just wanted to save a lot of the big stuff for this episode, along with everything that else, all the big stuff that happened on Friday as well. So let's get into it here. We had a couple 3-team trades, so I'm gonna get into all of these. These were all pretty big ones here. This was a 3-team trade between Anaheim, Edmonton, and Tampa Bay here. Tampa Bay got Adam Henrique from Anaheim. They're only paying 50% of his salary. It's good. It's a good ad, I think, for Tampa Bay. They desperately needed some scoring depth, and Adam Henrique was kind of just really being wasted in Anaheim. And it was about time for Anaheim to just start selling, and they did. They also got a conditional 4th-round pick for 2025 from Edmonton in this deal. Edmonton being that middle ground team to help facilitate this trade. And the conditions on it, basically, if Edmonton wins the Cup this year, it changes to a 2026 4th-round pick from Edmonton. So yeah. That said, so they get Edmonton also has 50% of Adam Henrique's salary. They got Ty Taylor signing rights. That's no cap hit that they got from Tampa Bay in this deal. And then also from Anaheim, they got Sam Carrick, and he's on a rookie deal still. So they only have to pay $425,000 cap hit on that, which is really nice because that's 50%. And they also got a 2024 7th-round pick from Anaheim. But Anaheim made out pretty good in this deal. A 2024 1st-round pick from Edmonton, a conditional 5th-round pick for 2025. And if Edmonton wins the Cup in 2025. Or this year, it upgrades to a 4th-round pick in 2025. So, big deal. A lot of big moves. Obviously, big name Adam Henrique moving to Tampa Bay. Any thoughts on this one, man?
Yeah, so Adam Henrique here. I definitely have heard of that name. He's been, I feel like, floating around the league for a hot minute here. Seems like a, pretty solid trade all around for all 3 teams. Henrique is the veteran, then also getting some picks involved in there as well. I think it's going to work out pretty well for all involved.
Yeah, Anaheim, they are stockpiling picks like no other right now. They have a ton of picks coming up over the next 3 or 4 drafts. So, they are really picking those up. That said, I think Edmonton is the overall winner in this. They got a AHL player for free from Tampa Bay, along with a really young good player in Sam Carrick. Now Henrique helps Tampa Bay a ton, but I think overall this really is a good trade for Edmonton here. Um, Another decent trade here. It was just between two teams here. The Rangers, they got Alexander Wenberg. Only 50% of the salary retained. And like I said last Thursday, you're going to see a lot of that this year because of how many teams are so close to the salary cap. And then Seattle in this trade, they got a 2024 second from New York. And they got a 2025 fourth round pick that was originally Dallas's, and it's a conditional pick. And basically, for what it was if Niels Lundqvist scores 55 cumulative points over the 2022 and 2023 seasons, the pick upgrades to a Dallas 2025 third round pick. I don't know if Lundqvist has that points total yet between those two seasons, so I'm not sure if that is going to upgrade to a third round pick or not, but I could look into that. But it really nothing huge here. Good pickup for the Rangers. They add a little bit of depth to that center position. Not that they necessarily needed it, but it's a good trade all around for them. So yeah.
Yeah, Wenberg, man, I remember him on the Blue Jackets, and I'm pretty sure didn't he play there when Panarin was there? So it's kind of a reunion in New York, I guess.
Yeah, I think they did play a couple seasons together when Panarin was there. So yeah, I think if they did, yeah, definitely a big reunion there. But yeah, that's I think it's really good pickup for Seattle because they need the draft picks, and New York, they're making that cup push this year, man. They're really digging for that. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Now the biggest trade I think of the entire trade deadline happened on Wednesday. Obviously, very controversial because of what this team is doing with circumventing the cap. But the Las Vegas cap circumventers, Golden Knights, they get Noah Hannafin, only 50% of the retained salary, of course. And then they also got just a AHL signing rights to a player from Philadelphia. Philly getting just 50%, getting that other 50% of the salary for Noah Hannafin, and a fifth round pick for 2024 from Vegas on this. And then the big one here for this trade, though, is Calgary. They get a ton of picks here. They get Daniel Miramonov, which is very low, $762,000 cap hit. A 2024 conditional third round pick, a 2026 conditional first round pick. The third round pick goes up to a 2025 second round pick if Vegas wins one round in the playoffs. So more than likely that'll get upgraded. And the conditions on that first round pick: if traded by March 10th, 2024, or the pick is top 10, Calgary will instead receive a 2026. Wait, hold on, what? I'm very confused about this. Hold on, let me look at this a little bit better here. Oh, okay, I see. So Vegas already traded away their 2025 first round pick, and that's basically why the wording is a little weird. But basically, yeah, they'll be getting the 2026 first round pick from Vegas. So, yeah, this was a huge deal. Obviously, a lot of people are pissed off with Vegas because, they're circumventing the cap as they have for the last 3 years because Mark Stone just happens to get hurt a week before the trade deadline every single year, placed on LTIR. But, overall, I think this is a win for Vegas. It's a huge win for Calgary. They obviously get a first round pick and at the very least a third round pick out of this for Noah Hannafin. And Calgary needs those picks, man, because they've been in the middle of the road for a long time, and they just need to stockpile players at this point. Whether any of them pan out or not is a different story, but something like this helps them, and it kind of helps the process of getting them down lower in the standings so they could get higher draft picks. Because, again, drafting in the middle of the first round every single year isn't going to be the most ideal way to rebuild your team. But, you're still getting a lot of draft capital out of this, and you could probably move up, too, now with all the capital that they do have.
Yeah, I knew when I saw this right away that you were definitely going to be pissed, man. When I saw Vegas got Noah Hannafin, I was like, oh, man, they did it again. Um, yeah, I think it's a good haul, though, back for him. I mean, not sure how it is in the NHL, but usually NBA when I mean it can be good and it can backfire. Um, Getting big hauls back for big players, but seems like Calgary got pretty good value here for Hannafin. So that's cool. And then, yeah, as long as Vegas doesn't win the cup, we'll be all right.
Yeah, I'm happy if Vegas doesn't win the cup. Hell, they might not even make the playoffs the way they've been playing over the last couple games. But yeah, we'll wait and see. Obviously, Calgary wants them to at least make it into the playoffs and win a round because again that third round pick gets upgraded to a second round pick. But it's crazy that this is the market for a rental player because Hannafin ain't gonna re-sign in or not Calgary in Vegas because Vegas has so many players that they already have to pay. The a first round and basically a second round pick for a rental player. I mean, that's why I understand Steve Yzerman not doing anything at the trade deadline for Detroit. But man, Detroit definitely needed some moves. Let's just leave it at that. But yeah, no, I think this is obviously a very good move for Vegas. As much as everyone hates it because of the fact that again they are circumventing the cap, it is what it is there. Um, Moving on here. Um, Toronto got Joel Edmondson from Washington for a third in 2024 and a fifth in 2025. Both those picks weren't even owned by Toronto. The third round pick is from the Islanders. The fifth round picks from Chicago, and of course, Toronto only gets 50% of the salary here, so good pickup for Toronto for sure. Um, they needed some help on the defense, and they definitely got it there with Joel Edmondson, and obviously the Caps walk away with a decent haul for yet again another rental player. Um, Pretty decent sized trade here. Arizona getting a 2027 fourth round pick from Edmonton for Troy Stetcher, who's just a $1.1 million cap hit. Again, a rental player for Edmonton. I know you remember Stetcher playing for Detroit for I think it was 2 years, at least
Mm-hmm.
1 year. Um, Edmonton needs help on the blue line, and Stetcher can definitely help there. He ain't an elite level defenseman, but it's help, right? So, yeah, it's a pretty good move there. Chicago. Actually, someone wanted to trade with Chicago this year, which is surprising considering they have fucking nothing really worth of value. But they got a 2024 fifth round pick from Nashville for Anthony Beauvillier. Um, Veteran presence. That's what Nashville needs. Beauvillier provides that. So yeah, I like this move a lot for Nashville because they are a really hot team right now. Adding Beauvillier adds some depth, but it also adds a lot of veteran presence, and they desperately needed that for sure. Um, Another big, not really big one, but a kind of a shocking one. San Jose getting Jack Thompson and a 2024 third round pick from Tampa for Anthony Duclair. Um, like I said, Tampa needed scoring depth, and they got it this at the trade deadline for sure. I mean, Duclair adds a ton of scoring depth, and now Duclair can say he's played for both Florida teams, which is very interesting, of course. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that Declare, another name that I definitely recognize and remember. Yeah, so hopping over to another Florida team, um, I think it'll be solid. I mean, a lot of these ones you just mentioned were pretty smaller trades, but they'll definitely help out. With some playing time here, second or third line guys that can fill a role.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. I think San Jose really won this trade because they got a third round pick for Duclair. So I mean that's a huge you know little bit of overpay I'd say from Tampa Bay, but it's a huge help in this San Jose rebuild, which is just in absolute shambles right now. And then they also get a Jack Thompson, who's just a AHL player. Um, so yeah, that helps them at least. I think one of the biggest ones on trade deadline day here, Jake Gensel going to Carolina. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Carolina only getting 25% of the cap hit, and they also get the signing rights to Ty Smith. Um, and Pittsburgh got a haul out of this. Michael Bunting, and then a couple other just AHL guys, actually three of them. A 2024 conditional second round pick from Philly, and a 2024 fifth round pick that's also conditional from Carolina. Um, the That 2024 second round pick, it upgrades to a 2024 first round pick if Carolina makes it to the Stanley Cup Finals this year. And then that fifth round pick, Pittsburgh will only get that pick if the Canes win the Stanley Cup this year. Um, so they're at the very least um, getting all these good players. The picks, they're not guaranteed. I mean, Carolina has to make it to the Cup Finals to at least get one of those picks, and then win it all to get the second. So this is a huge win, I think, for Carolina. Pittsburgh needs some players in their farm system. They definitely got that with the three players they got. But Jake Gensel, young, starting to hit his prime years right now. And he adds a ton of depth, a ton of really good scoring depth to this Carolina team that's been lacking it all year. They have great defense. They were lacking scoring, and boy, did they ever score on this trade.
Yeah, Carolina making moves, man. They're trying to get there. Gensel was a big part of Pittsburgh, and now he's gone. I believe they made another big trade as well, Carolina, if I remember correctly, to make a big push here. I mean, they're going all in, so I mean, gotta respect them going all in and trying to win this cup within this year or next year.
Yeah, they did make another trade, and we'll talk about that here in a second because it was pretty big. But yeah, no, I think Carolina wins this trade because they didn't really give up a whole lot, and if it doesn't work out for them this year, they don't lose those picks. So, um, I mean, this is huge for them. Jake Gensel was a huge part of the reason why Pittsburgh won their most recent cup. He's really good in the playoffs. I mean, in terms of point production, he for some reason in the playoffs he's much more productive in the playoffs than he is in the regular season. Not that he's not productive in the regular season, because he sure is, but I mean, this just adds to a Carolina team that really has no cup experience. It brings in a guy who's played for a Stanley Cup before, won a Stanley Cup, and that really helps this Carolina team because they really don't have a lot of players, if any, that have been to the Stanley Cup Finals and have won a cup. So this adds a whole new that adds just another layer to this trade that really helps Carolina. Um, and on top of that, they get Evgeny Kuznetsov for Washington, another
Hmm.
guy who has won a cup, uh, who's been through the playoffs many times, has that experience. Um, and they got him for just a third round pick in 2025. Um, Obviously, Carolina only retaining 50% of the salary. Um, so yeah, I mean this is huge. Uh, Carolina stacking up veteran, proven Cup winners, and in this league, proven Cup winners will help your team in the playoffs. I mean, it is a very common theme, and I think Carolina's just now figuring it out that yes, if you sign, guys who have won cups before, you're going to make a better push in the playoffs than just getting star players that haven't been to the cup finals or even won a cup. So this is a huge win again for Carolina here. Washington made out, though. They get a third round pick for a rental player. Um, Works out pretty well for them in this one.
Yeah, Kuznetsov, man, he was definitely one of the big pieces, especially over the last few years for that Capitals team, being the center to Ovi for a lot of those years. But Carolina, like I said already, they're kind of just going all in and trying to get this championship.
Yeah, they are all in. I think. I mean, the East, you have so many contenders in the East now. It's insane. I mean, Florida upgraded a ton, Carolina upgraded a ton. Boston didn't make a whole lot of moves, but they don't necessarily need to. And then also New York made a ton of great moves. So I mean, like the East is going to be a fucking bloodbath in the playoffs, and I'm all for it. One trade I didn't see happening because of who was traded. The Florida Panthers getting Kyle Okposo from Buffalo. Um, didn't see this coming because Okposo was the captain in Buffalo. Um, so it was kind of a surprising trade. A huge win for Florida, of course. Okposo, a really good forward. Um, it's a good pickup for them, of course. Um, it is not a great deal for Buffalo though. They just get a AHL player. Um, they get his signing rights and a 2024 seventh round pick. That's conditional. If Florida wins the cup, it turns into a fifth round pick. So yeah, Buffalo losing out huge on this trade. If Florida massive win. Again, didn't expect Okposo to get traded at all, given that he was the captain in Buffalo. But I whoever's Buffalo's GM is needs to go, bro, because that is a terrible fucking deal.
Facts. Buffalo seems like it's not been a very well-run organization. I mean, look what the whole Jack Eichel situation over the last few years. That was a mess. Um, yeah, Buffalo is just they don't seem to have it when it comes to trading.
They don't seem to have it. Period, man. This team is a fucking embarrassment. That GM needs to go, man. That is a terrible deal. Um, Pretty big trade here though. Winnipeg getting Tyler Toffoli from New Jersey. They of course only have to pay 50% of that salary. New Jersey getting a 2024 third and a 2025 second from Winnipeg out of this. Pretty damn good haul for a rental player. Um, I think this is a kind of an even trade. I don't think really there's a clear winner in this one. Obviously, New Jersey gets a good haul of picks. And Winnipeg adds some scoring depth, which they've needed over the last month and a half now because they had really good scoring to start the year, and it's just kind of pittered out. So yeah, this definitely helps them for sure. And then yeah, there's just really bunch of small trades the rest of the way. I mean, not a lot of big ones. Arizona getting a 6th-round pick from Nashville, which is Dallas's pick for this year for Jason Zucker. Um, I didn't even know Zucker was playing in Arizona this year, but they're they're kind of uh, like a Pokemon trainer, I guess. This year they just have a whole bunch of random old vets on their team, and they've just kind of just been offloading them all season long to different teams and picking up draft picks. But outside of that, yeah, no, there wasn't really a whole lot of other big moves. Again, Arizona getting a 5th-round pick in 2027 for Matt Dumba, going to Tampa Bay. Decent, pickup for Tampa Bay. Matt Dumba adds veteran presence. He hasn't done much, in the playoffs himself, but yeah, no, Tampa Bay could definitely use some defensemen, and they got him at a pretty cheap cost. But again, he's kind of old now, so not really a whole lot. Tampa also picked up a 2025 7th-round pick from Arizona in that trade as well. And yeah, that's really all the big trades. One last big one, I guess. I know this one kind of hurt you and Ian as Sharks fans.
Yeah.
Thomas Hurdle to Vegas, along with a 2025 third and a 2027 third for a 2025 first round pick from Vegas and David Edstrom, AHL player. Plain and simple, y'all motherfuckers got robbed, bro. Like man, I feel like this year, Vegas's GM just said, and I know you'll understand this reference. Just started saying, "I'm gonna just start robbing motherfuckers." That's basically what he's done. He's robbed so many motherfuckers this year. San Jose got really short end of the stick. San Jose's hoping Vegas misses the playoffs entirely, just so that first round pick becomes something decent. But yeah, no, that's really all the big trades. Again, Vegas huge winner in this one. They get Thomas Hurdle, and they get two third-round picks out of San Jose for a first-round pick and an AHL player. That is just really, really sad, but it is what it is. And yeah, so that's all the big trades. Couple of the smaller ones as well, but I'm not going to go through every single trade, of course. That we'd be here for fucking hours and hours talking about it. There's some other small trades that I didn't mention that I did actually really like. Again, just not going to go through them because but this year's trade deadline was kind of not the greatest. There wasn't a whole lot of stars on the market this year. There were some big names, some really nice moves, but yeah, not a lot of stars this year for that. But yeah, that's gonna wrap us up for the NHL trade deadline. Obviously, playoffs are around the corner. We're about a month and a half ish away from the start of the NHL playoffs, and I believe the NBA playoffs too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
But yeah, let's get into some NFL here now, man. Lead us off, man, with this with free agency starting.
Yeah, so there was a lot that went on today. I mean, there was probably 20, 30 moves. I got a whole page here that posts all about all of them. One that just got posted here recently, man. We got to talk about this one right now. Eagles signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson, 3 years, $33 million. So C.J. Gardner-Johnson was with the Eagles. Then he comes to the Lions. He talks all this stuff, and now he's gone after that one season. So, yeah, a whole lot of good that did. What do you think about C.J. Gardner-Johnson leaving?
Honestly, I'm not even that mad about him leaving the Lions. But I just find it kind of fucking hilarious that he came here to Detroit, talked so much shit about not only the Philly organization, but the fans in Philly, calling them animals.
For real.
I
And
mean,
then signs right back.
and then signs right back because they offered him a huge. I mean, Philly fucking overpaid the fuck out of him to come back. But they're all in to try and win the Super Bowl, especially after last year's defensive collapse. So yeah, it's kind of needed.
For real. So yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight. I'll highlight one of the Lions' moves as well as some QB moves, and the main thing is the running backs. There was a lot of running backs who changed places. There was like 11 or 12 running backs who have found new teams. So we'll go through those super quick, and then we'll save the other ones for next episode. But first here, Lions acquiring Carlton Davis. Need the guy on the secondary. Um, definitely not the best one with. They mentioned this report here that L'Jarius Sneed was resurfacing, and the Lions were looking at him. But I mean, Carlton Davis is still a pretty solid player. So I think hopefully he can do well. He was with that Tampa defense for a good minute there, uh, and he's got some experience, in the playoffs and stuff with being on the Super Bowl team. So, what do you think about this one?
Honestly, honestly, we're overpaying him. He hasn't played more. I mean, he's missed at least 4 games every season over the last 3 seasons. According to PFF, he's gotten progressively worse over the last 3 seasons as well. Um, it's not a move that helps the Lions get better, but it's not a move that makes them worse. Obviously, he's a hell of an upgrade over Cam Sutton. But a lot of Lions fans aren't gonna like this. But it needs to be said about this move. Um, Jerry Jacobs is like a direct comparison to how he's been playing over the last 2 or 3 years, and we could have had him at a 930 something $1,000 cap hit instead of overpaying Davis. So I'm just saying, statistically speaking, we could have, and money wise, we could have just signed Jerry Jacobs instead. But Lions fans don't want to hear that because Jerry Jacobs is a cursed man in Detroit. But it needed to be said.
Yeah, honestly, though. So now we'll go and highlight some of these QBs that get traded or signed. The big one, I guess, I signed the biggest contract. Kirk Cousins to the Falcons, 4 years, 180 million. I had a feeling this was going to happen. His name was surfaced around Atlanta for a minute. I didn't think it'd be a 4-year deal though. Thought maybe 2 years. I still think Atlanta was looking for a QB in the draft, but now I'm not sure if they're signing Cousins for 4 years. Maybe they just hold off, and I think this is exactly what Atlanta needs. Someone who's consistently average because Atlanta's missed so much recently since Matt Ryan's left. Like Desmond Ritter, they've been trying to find the next QB, next guy who's going to be a star, and they've just been missing on every one of them. Desmond Ritter didn't work out. Taylor Heineke isn't going to cut it. So at least Kirk Cousins is going to be a consistent guy for you. He's not going to be someone who's going to break out. If anything, he's on the decline. But he's going to be reliable, I guess, even though he is coming off an injury. But still, 4 years, 180 mil. That's definitely a steep price for Cousins here.
You know, so I like this deal a lot because it gives Atlanta stability.
Yep, stability.
So
That's what they need.
so here's the thing. They already have a really good defense. They have weapons for Kirk Cousins to throw to. I mean, they have Pitts, they have Bijan.
Drake
Um,
London.
yep, they have Drake London. I mean, he has weapons, and so this gives them stability. Now, Atlanta has options now at in what they can do in the draft. I think now they probably won't draft a JJ McCarthy. Um,
Why not?
who I think was pegged to go there for a while until this move. That said, if they do draft him, that gives him time to develop, learn from Kirk Cousins, who's been in the league for so long, um, and learn from a veteran QB, and that way JJ could get better and be that next QB for Atlanta that takes them to the glory land, you know? So they have options in the draft, of course. Um, if they wanted to in like the second round draft a Bo Nix or a Michael Penix, sure, but you're not really going to do a whole lot there. I mean, they'd be good backups for him, but considering that they're both old as fuck, that's why their draft stock isn't that high, and they could be a good backup for Kirk Cousins for sure. But I like the signing a lot for Atlanta. I mean, like I said, it adds stability and and Kirk Cousins has a nice cushion here. He's got weapons to throw to. He's got a run game that they can depend on a lot with Bijan there. And if they upgrade the offensive line a lot, give him some more protection, this Atlanta team could actually be a pretty dangerous team, and probably I would say maybe even my favorite to win the NFC South.
Yeah, they definitely made a move finally. Um, the Steelers signed Russell Wilson to a 1 year, I think it was 1.2 million. Yeah, 1.2 million. So the Broncos are basically eating up 38 mil of that deal. I think this is great for the Steelers. They've been able to make the playoffs without a good QB. I mean, Russ is by no means a good QB anymore, but he's better than Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. So on that cheap of a deal, why not try for 1 year and see what happens? Maybe they turn him around. Maybe he comes back to uh, Seattle Russ.
Now that Pittsburgh might be onto something here with signing Russell Wilson, because if Pittsburgh drafts a quarterback, say a JJ McCarthy, for example, let him learn under Russ, a guy who has a very similar play style to him, that could be a huge move for Pittsburgh going forward for the future. Get a year under Russell Wilson, a guy who, again, in college played a lot like how JJ plays. Cannon of an arm, a little bit reckless, but not too reckless. Very accurate passer, can run like a motherfucker. And, I mean, Russell can still move, not as well as he used to, but he can still move. That could be a interesting long-term move for Pittsburgh, with just signing a 1 year deal with a veteran like Russ.
For sure. So these next ones here, these are going to be backup QBs that are going places. Just stop me if you want to talk about any of these, but these are names that have definitely been around the league for a minute. Just going to be with different teams. Maybe they'll get opportunities to start at some point. So the Raiders signed Gardner Minshew. The Patriots signed Jacoby Brissett. Vikings got Sam Darnold. They literally gave him 10 mil, and like that, Sam Darnold's agent fleeced them for sure. Jets signed Tyrod Taylor. The Browns got Jameis Winston.
Now, stop right there with Jameis Winston.
Uh-huh.
I think that's a pretty good deal there, because if Deshaun turns out to be shit again or gets injured, that Jameis Winston, he's serviceable as a backup QB. I mean, he's not gonna get you, if if they need him for 4 weeks, he's not gonna get you 4 wins, but he can probably get you to a two record, over those 4 games, if needed. I think that's a decent signing for Cleveland here.
Yeah, I mean, they had Flacco last year, and he was solid for them, and actually kind of carried them for some games at the end. But yeah, it's a solid backup signing. You got the Giants signing Drew Lock. The Commanders signed Marcus Mariota. Let's see who else got signed. Backup QBs. That looks like it's it. Maybe some other minor ones, but those are the ones that I'm seeing here. So
Drew Lock
yeah,
to the Giants. Man, what are the Giants doing?
bro, they
I
are so
like
lost. Like
like
they just
like
lost
if
Saquon
you
with.
if you chopped up both, Drew Lock and Daniel Jones and made one person out of that, you still don't even have a quarterback in your fucking QB room. That might be the worst QB room this year, because of who's at quarterback in New York. I mean, Drew Lock. I mean, obviously he's a backup quarterback. He's not shit. Daniel Jones, though, he might as well be a fucking backup QB the way he fucking plays.
For real. All right, now we're gonna go and try and hit these running backs. Again, we'll probably just rapid fire through them. Again, just stop me if you have anything you want to talk about with some of these running backs. So first here was the Titans. They signed Tony Pollard, 3 years, 24 mil. They knew Derrick Henry was out the door, so they needed to get a replacement. They hopped on it pretty early. I think that's solid. Does concern me that Pollard is 26 already. Usually they say once running backs hit about 27, around 27, 28 is when they start kind of falling off. So first year, maybe two, Pollard will be serviceable, but he'll probably last maybe those 3 years, and then they'll have to move on to someone else after that. But yeah, now the Cowboys got to figure out what they're going to do. A big one here, Josh Jacobs. It says we're here undisclosed contract, but details will probably come out soon. Josh Jacobs has been one of the most underrated running backs. He signed with the Packers. Again, he's 26. And shockingly, the Packers released Aaron Jones following that, and then he ended up signing with the Vikings. So Aaron Jones is going to be staying in the NFC North. 1 year, $7 million contract. He's 29, so that's going to be interesting. Another interesting move was the Bengals. So they were going to release Joe Mixon. It was reported that he was going to be released, and then it came out that the Texans actually acquired Joe Mixon in a trade. Price gave up something very small, maybe like a 7th-round pick. And yeah, so now he's going to be paired up with C.J. Stroud. And they get upgrade, and they're running back, trying to bounce around here.
And
Devin Singletary.
can we go back to Mixon real quick?
Yep.
That is, I know Mixon's kind of starting to get on that back end of his career where he starts to decline, but I think that move makes the Texans really, really dangerous coming into this offseason, or coming into the season this year, man. That is a really, really good deal for them. They needed some running back help, and they got it. And with C.J. Stroud, I mean, he can throw it to Mixon too. So I mean, that's huge for him, especially. The Texans, man, they are going to be fucking dangerous this year, man.
For real. They're always making moves. Their old running back, Devin Singletary, he signed with the Giants. I mean, he's probably one of the weaker running backs that got moved. He signed 3 years, $16.5 million. Next year, we will highlight. Let's do Austin Eckler, 2-year contract for $12 million. Or worth up to $12 million with the Commanders. So very interesting here to see. Again, he's on the older side of running backs. He's 28, so and he definitely had a down year last year for the Chargers. But he's always boom or bust. I feel like he will go off, and other games he won't do much. I liked Austin Eckler with the Chargers, but I think it was time to move off. And they actually signed Gus Edwards to a 2-year deal, so changing it up. Gus Edwards, same age, so still dealing with that, but he was a lot more consistent last year than Eckler was. He's close to 1,000 yards, very steady production. Just got to make sure he doesn't get hurt, because he's dealt with injuries for sure in the past. We'll go back again to the Bengals. So to replace Joe Mixon, they got Zach Moss from the Colts, 2 years, $8 million. Zach Moss, I think, is solid. He has a lot of upside. He was behind Jonathan Taylor, so Now he'll be getting touches as an RB1. Let's see. Is there any other big? Oh, of course, we got to highlight the Derrick Henry one. That was the big news from today for sure. Derrick Henry signing with the Ravens, 2 years, 16 mil. Derrick Henry, 30 man. So I know he's old, but I think he can still give solid production where he's at right now. And him and Lamar in the same backfield is going to go crazy. What do you think about the Derrick Henry signing?
So this one is good. I think this is really good. Derrick Henry was built in a fucking lab to play this style of offense that Baltimore plays. Like that's the way I see this. And and yes, he's up there in age. Obviously, he's 30 years old. Um, and here's why it's such a big win is they don't necessarily need to play him every single snap. They they even said that he's gonna be kind of like a closer for them. He's probably gonna get about 15 to 18 touches in a game, not really playing a whole lot. Um, if for example, um, you know, he's going to be playing mostly in the fourth quarter, right? So Lamar doesn't have to now be the leading rusher on the team because now they have a guy like Derrick Henry who can carry this offense. And when it's cold, when it's raining in Pittsburgh or in Cleveland or in Cincinnati or in Baltimore, that is the guy that you go to in any sort of cold wet weather, and he's gonna make some moves, knock some people's heads off. This is a huge win. Great signing for Baltimore here.
Yes, sir. So the last two that I'm going to highlight here is going to be the Bears. They signed DeAndre Swift, 3 years, 24.5 mil, 15 mil guaranteed. DeAndre Swift, I mean, went from the Lions to the Eagles and then now to the Bears. So he's kind of been bouncing around his first few years in the league.
Yeah, well, the problem is he's pretty injury prone. Obviously, he didn't play, or I think he played in every game last year, if I'm not mistaken. But he's starting to get up there a little bit in age. I mean, he's what, 26, 27, if I remember correctly.
He is 25.
Oh, he's
Actually.
25. Okay, he's a little bit younger than I thought. Okay, but
Mhm.
we know the injury history with him, especially as Lions fans. We know his injury history. It's a good deal for the Bears for sure. I think they're. I mean, I think everyone's overpaying for running backs because one thing I always stand by is we do not pay running backs. Once they're off the rookie deal, out the door. I don't want you here anymore. You're like because like all your good years are behind you after 5 years. So it's like
Kind of true.
so like if you just draft a running back every 5 years, you know, a good running back every 5 years, you're going to be a really good franchise. I mean, it's worked a hell of a lot in all your very successful franchises. I mean, look at Kansas City. They do that. They draft a running back. They have him until his rookie deal ends. They maybe extend him a year, and then they're out the door and they draft another running back. I mean, it's a model that works, and it works very well. Um, but no, I mean, this is nice for Chicago because they needed a running back, and yeah, they got it with DeAndre Swift. Now, if he stays healthy, great. If he doesn't, though, this looks like a really bad deal.
Yeah, especially with half his contract basically being guaranteed. And then the last big signing, the biggest signing from yesterday. Today was the Derrick Henry move, which was probably the biggest name. But yesterday, Saquon Barkley went 3 years, 37, almost 38 mil, 26 mil guaranteed with the Eagles here, man. He was pretty. Him and Derrick Henry were pretty much the biggest running back names on the market. So Saquon going to the Eagles. What do you think about that, man?
Well, obviously they needed help with losing DeAndre Swift. Um, Obviously Saquon's a better running back than DeAndre Swift, but you could have retained Swift for a lot cheaper. They're grossly overpaying him. Um, so I mean, we'll see if it works out for them. I hate the Eagles, so I really hope it doesn't work out for them. But that's just me. Um, no, I mean, like Saquon's a fine player, really good running back. I just, I would not be paying him that much money personally, um, because again, we don't pay running backs. So yeah, I mean, it's a good deal. Obviously, it was huge news. I just think they're grossly overpaying him.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, it's tough though because when you're at the top of the market, man, I mean, you're gonna garner definitely a premium. And Eagles fans, I mean, they always got something to bitch and complain about. So maybe now they'll shut up. Finally got something.
They'll still find a way to fucking bitch and moan about something. Let's be real here. It's fucking Eagles fans. They'll always find a way to bitch and moan, man. It's just the way it is, though, man. But yeah, I mean, free agency's finally here. Hopefully, Brad Holmes actually makes legitimate football moves and actually makes this team better. We'll have to see. But Thursday, we're going to talk a lot more free agency. Obviously, we're expecting tomorrow, especially, to be big. Thursday, we'll probably see a lot of moves as well. I know T. Higgins requested trade after Cincinnati put a franchise tag on him. I don't know how the hell they're going to pay both him and Jamar Chase, though. I mean, they're paying a combined I think 32 million between the two, which is insane to have split between two receivers. So I mean, if I don't know what the fuck Cincy's doing trying to keep both of them, but they have to get rid of T Higgins, man. I mean, realistically, that would be the most financially responsible thing to do if you're Cincinnati. But we'll
Yeah, I mean, he requested that trade, so
yeah, but
we'll see.
just because he requested trade doesn't mean that they can. I mean, they don't have to trade him, right? So it is what it is. But I mean, honestly, I would trade him out if I'm Cincinnati. I mean, again, you have so much money wrapped up just between two receivers, that you shouldn't have, and so yeah, they have to get rid of T Higgins here. They got to find a trade, but finding the right value is going to be their problem. But again, they don't have a whole lot of leverage either, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But anyways, guys, Thursday, like I said, a lot more NFL free agency stuff for sure. Whatever we get tomorrow, whatever we get on Thursday before we record the episode, we will definitely get into that. Um, uh, you know, Rate, review, subscribe, help us out. Let us know what you want to see. Check out our YouTube page. Share the podcast with your friends. We are slowly seeing some more growth, so that's of course good. Just keep spreading the word, guys, because we want to make this thing big, of course. Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you guys on Thursday.